All right. Hello, Congresswoman Maloney. My name is Julia Foreman. Thank you for participating in the Dutch Kills Civic Association Meet the Candidates series. This has been a series of interviews available to the public to inform them about the candidates in the upcoming New York 12 election. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us, and if it's all right with you, I'm going to jump right in.
Okay.
All right. So you are our current representative, and the federal representative in one of our neighboring districts, New York 14, has recently called for the U.S. Postal Service and the Federal Reserve to expand the post office's services. If reelected, will you support offering financial services, including ATMs, paycheck cashing, bill payment, and electronic money transfers in our post offices?
Yes, actually, I'm a co-sponsor of a bill, the lead in the House on that would allow the post office just to do just that. The Senate sponsor is Kirsten Gillibrand. And the way it works is any changes in postal structure is put forward by the so-called Board of Governors. They are then appointed. It's a quasi-private, it's not really a federal agency. It's a quasi-private performing public service. It's not really a federal agency. But the Board of Governors has 2 Democrats and 3 Republicans on it. 2 of those Republicans were appointed by President Trump. So the proposal that if you want to change the structure, which we have pushed for, it has to come through the Board of Governors. They put forward a suggestion this year, or rather what they think the post office needs. They called for $25 billion just to respond to the coronavirus problems and challenges that they're confronting. They are working overtime. They are exposed to the virus. Some have died, many, over 200 are out sick. And it's hazardous in the bill that we'll be voting on tomorrow. There'll be hazardous pay for them because they're called essential workers. But the governor's proposal was $25 billion for the coronavirus reaction or restoration of funding, $25 billion for infrastructure, for modernization, for their trucks, they're very old, and other items that they need, and $25 billion. This is billion, so it's roughly $75 billion total, and $25 billion for a line of credit. Now, the bill we're voting on tomorrow, and I was the lead on getting $25 billion in that package. I met several times with Leader Pelosi, with my colleagues, the leadership team, on the package, and negotiated to get $25 billion in this package. The next 25 we hope to get in the package that we'll be putting forward at the end of August or early September for the infrastructure piece. We'll be doing a bill totally on infrastructure. And in CARES 2, the $2 trillion bill that we did, we achieved $10 billion for a line of credit. I have petitioned the Board of Governors to have this flexibility. They have not supported it. It's under discussion. The GAO is doing a report on this and other ways to make the post office more profitable. They are running now at a loss. They have many structural problems. I passed a bill early this year, regretfully in 2006 when the Republicans were in power. One of the things that they did is they forced the post office to prepay their retirement. No federal agency has to do that. The bill that I passed with DeFazio, Congressman DeFazio from Oregon, was to abolish that requirement, to remove it. I tried to get that in this package. I did not succeed in doing that, but we're going to continue to work for the post office. Personally, I love the post office. It's so democratic, it goes everywhere. There's a big push by Republicans to privatize it. In my district, privatization, where many people live, it's very profitable. But if you go to upstate New York, where my late husband was from, some of the counties, he was from Hamilton County, they have more animals there than people, but they have a post office, and you can get your mail in Hamilton County. And if you privatize it, I don't think that our citizens around the country will get their mail at an affordable price. So I think part of the post office is that it is there for everyone. It's one of the things that unites this country. It's really part of the arteries of this country. It even precedes the Constitution and the formation of our country. We had a unified postal service from the first days of our country, and it's one of the few responsibility of government that is literally mentioned in the Constitution, that we should have a postal service that serves all of our citizens. I'm committed to working towards that goal. In fact, I spent 2 hours this morning with the head of the rural post office workers. It is a organization that just endorsed a bill that I introduced, will be introducing tomorrow, that will give all kinds of support for the first responders and others that are reacting to the pandemic crisis.
All right. And do you feel as though moving towards that financial services availability within the post office will help achieve these goals of bringing up that profitability and reducing the deficit that they're running at?
I absolutely do. I think it's a very good idea. I'm also proposing and have talked to people. In fact, I have a bill in to accomplish that. I have a bill in to accomplish that with Senator Gillibrand to pass that and make that happen. It has to go, as I mentioned, through the Board of Governors. We could try to legislate it, but it's sort of, you need the buy-in of the postal people also. Right. So I do support that completely.
Great, thank you. All right, so now for full financial transparency, I'm going to ask you about the sources of—
By the way, I've been working for years to get a post office in Dutch Kills. You are growing at multitudes of people, new buildings, and I think the first post office is about 1.5 miles away from you. So you have to walk like a long time, like 20 minutes to get your packages. I have been proposing this for a long time. As I said, we are fighting really for the life of the post office. The Republicans are trying to privatize it. And so getting the $25 billion in was a success on the Democratic side, but we have to pass it in the Senate. So it's still in danger. To me, it's vital, especially during now when people are getting their medications. We're going to be voting by mail, getting your census forms. It's reliable. It's there. It holds us together. So I'm fighting for it. It's a priority, but we also need a new post office in Dutch Kills.
All right, thank you. So for financial transparency, I'm now going to ask you about the sources of funding and support in your campaign. Is your campaign funded solely by small dollar donations from individuals?
I have over 3,500 people that have contributed to my campaign. Most of them live in the district that I am privileged to serve. I do take some PAC money. I'm a former teacher. I was very pleased that I could make a donation and have someone else go to Washington and fight for my interest as a teacher. I was in the classroom, let them go do that. So I do take PAC money. It's legal. I think one of the worst bills that ever passed in the Supreme Court or positions was the so-called Citizens United. I've been endorsed by the End Citizens United organization to end this, that allows unlimited dark money. You don't know where it comes from. You don't have to disclose it. I have gone into some campaigns where they have very little money in the bank, and afterwards you find out there was $3 million thrown at you in dark money. So it's a very dangerous climate out there because there's no accountability, no oversight. I think it has ruined the election process because dark money can go in and influence in unlimited ways, and no one even knows where it came from, and it is legal. It's outrageous. I'm in bills to pass a constitutional amendment to end that. When I was on the city council, I passed the campaign finance bill to publicly fund campaigns. I support that, publicly funded campaigns. At the time, it was called the toughest and best campaign finance bill in the nation. I went to Congress. They improved that bill some, made it more generous. But in Congress, I was the chair of the Campaign Finance Committee for Reform for the freshman class, and I got on the leadership team that did a bill that had full disclosure, limits on contributions, all kinds of things. And then they passed Citizens United, which blew the top off of it. I think something like the year they passed Citizens United, there was something like $4 billion in dark money. Last election, it was well over 145 billion, whatever the ends of Citizens United, the number I don't really recall, so I probably should use it when I hear. But it was, multitudes of billions in the stratosphere, and no one knows where that money comes from. No one's accountable for it. I think it's one of the biggest threats to our democracy to have billions of dollars flowing into campaigns unaccounted for. I support public financing of campaigns. Take all money out and just have people debate and put forward their record and put forward what they're doing to help people and what their dream and aspiration is to help them more.
All right. Great. So has your campaign received any funding from the Democratic Party, either at the local, district, state, or even federal level?
No, I have not. If anything, I do multitudes of fundraiser and events to help other candidates.
All right.
Particularly last year when we elected so many young women. We elected 30 seats that we flipped from red, they were Republican, to blue. I held a multitude of fundraisers for them here in New York. We have an organization that helps women candidates that I'm part of the founding members of. But now I'm in my own campaign, so I don't have the luxury of, they keep calling me for money. I say, look, I've got my own campaign and I don't know how much dark money is coming at me. So I can't, for all I know, they'll throw another 5 million at me in the last 3 weeks. So.
Understood. You mentioned accepting money from a PAC connected with teachers. Are you receiving funding or support from any other PAC, such as American Bankers Association or the Sheet Metal, Air, Rail, and Transportation Union?
I have a fundraiser that I hire. You can call them and talk to them in depth. I really don't know. Right now, I'm the chair of the Oversight Committee. I was just appointed by Speaker Pelosi to go on the Select Committee to review the expenditures of all of the coronavirus, which will be in the billions. We're now at, after this, we're now at $5 trillion that we are tracking. There are only 6 of us. That's taken a lot of my time. Plus, I have a very energetic district that I'm involved in many things. And as I said, just this year passed a bill in the billions, well over $80 billion for health and compensation for the first responders of 9/11. And today I introduced the bill to do the same thing for the emergency workers, all of them that are fighting the pandemic. So I have a lot of work to do. Personally, I don't like fundraising. It's the least, I don't like to do it. So I work hard on passing bills. I've passed over 70 bills and 13 of them have had presidential bill signings, which is really reserved for landmark bills.
Right. So I suppose any other questions about, leadership PACs or super PACs or any of that would be best directed towards the fundraising people that you've mentioned.
Yes.
Okay.
And
All right.
also investigate 527s, the dark money that's being thrown at us. That's a big problem.
All right. And you mentioned your support of public funding of elections. Do you take any other position about funding of elections in our government other than what you've mentioned about dark money and public funding?
Well, what other positions are there?
Wanted to make sure.
I support campaign finance reform.
Great.
I not only support it, I passed the bill in the city council and the bill in Congress, or was on the team that passed the bill in Congress. Then came Citizens United that blew up the whole system.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, for the worse, we now have more dark money going than ever before, unfortunately.
Understood.
And a lot of it's can be directed at you and you don't even know it.
It's fair. All right. Last year, Amazon withdrew their proposal to move part of their headquarters to the Long Island City Dutch Kills section of New York 12. Did you have a position on that move? If so, what was it, and what made you decide to take that position?
I supported a I supported the governor and the mayor that had negotiated a deal. Part of that deal was answering one of my prime goals for Queens and Brooklyn, and that's restoring the infrastructure there. One of the problems in Queens is the backup of sewage. It's disgusting to talk about, but when it rains, in a lot of the neighborhoods that I represent, the water is backed up. We need resiliency protections on the waterfront because when Sandy hit, it came way far in, destroying a lot of people's property. There was sewage in the daycare centers. It was just disgusting. So we have a tremendous problem. To this day, the city dumps their sewage out into the water there. I got a Superfund designation to clean it up, but as long as the city continues to dump sewage out there, there's no way you can clean it up, and so that's a big problem. So part of the agreement is that they would repair the infrastructure. The biggest problem in government, they always say we don't have enough money. We don't have enough money. But one of the things that we need is resiliency planning on the waterfront to keep it from flooding the area. And then the infrastructure, which will cost hundreds of billions of dollars to replace, that was part of it. As a former teacher, I've always been passionate about teaching, and I was excited about part of their proposal where 23 schools, they were going to, quote, adopt, send them to training programs, give scholarships to them, help them, get jobs in tech. And this is on top of the 25,000 jobs, I believe it was 25,000 jobs that they were promising at $150,000 minimum. Now that they would bring in other jobs. They had made a promise to a group of us from Queensbridge to hire 30 people immediately. There were other jobs that were good, as maintenance. These are good jobs. Groundskeepers, technicians, maintenance, and plumbers, and all kinds of things. But they were promising high-tech jobs. The governor and the mayor did not want it to be a sort of warehouse. That's what they're bringing now, is sort of warehouse processing packages, sending them out. That's the kind of jobs they're bringing in. They're not high-income jobs, but high-tech jobs. Too many of our young people leave the city because they can't find a good job. My daughter's out in San Francisco. She couldn't find a tech job here. She went to San Francisco. So a lot of the kids want to work in tech, and they were going to promise 25,000 jobs to us, and they were working and providing jobs already. But I'd say the main thing was the infrastructure, to repair the backed up infrastructure. I have people call me, my basement is full of water. And also we need a subway stop on in Sunnyside Yards. For years, I have not gotten the federal funding for it yet.
Right.
But I'm fine.
Okay. Your audio did cut out a little bit. I heard that subway stop in Sunnyside Yards, and then the audio shut off for me. If you wouldn't mind repeating your answer, just so I can make sure we have it on the recording.
One of the things that I've been working with the community board, and with the business, the LIC, Liz Luswig's group, is we are the fastest growing community, and we need improved transportation system. And we need a subway stop in Sunnyside Yards. I'm just talking about the stop there, so that you can get into Manhattan to work or to play or whatever, and back and out to Long Island to get upstate or go other places. That would help the residents with improved transportation. And many people have asked for it. It's asked by the community board and other small businesses, the Chamber of Commerce of Queens and others.
All right. Sort of going back to the situation surrounding Amazon, under what circumstances do you feel that using federal monetary incentives for private industry is appropriate? What metrics would you like to see used to determine whether a corporation should receive tax breaks or federal funding?
Julia, let me just cut in 1 minute. This is she's only got time for one more question, just as a FYI.
Okay.
Well, I don't
Yeah,
think they should have any, I don't think they should have any help. I think it should go directly to the people. But I'm not the president. So if I'm within a system, I try to work to help people as much as I can.
All right. So you would support no federal money, tax incentives, or actual grants to be given to corporations?
Well, it depends. What is a corporation? It could be a small business. It's hard to have one size fits all. I think it's a corporation, something in my district that's very valuable to people. It's called the Floating Hospital. They just received one of the PPP grants. I'm glad they received that. I support, they provide health care to Queensbridge. They were part of an effort. We had an RFP come out from the federal government. They were going to have one health care facility in public housing in the whole state. And they applied and we worked together. We got the grant and we have a healthcare station right there in Queensbridge. They are a corporation too, many people. So I'm glad they have the money. I don't think anyone in Queensbridge would like to take their money away from them.
All right, understood. Well, listen, Congresswoman, from the Dutch Kills Civic Association and from myself, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. And be well, stay safe.
Thank you, and I'm gonna keep pushing to get that $25 billion in for the post office, and then pushing for a post office in Dutch Kills.
All right, thank you, Congresswoman. Take care.